I'm a YouTuber from Australia. Do you mind if I just stand here for a few minutes and film?
Yes.
Yeah? I'm not going to annoy anyone, I'm just going to talk to my camera. Hey there, and welcome back to Stu's Amazing Race. This is my weekend with Metallica on tour in Helsinki, Finland. So these two vlogs are going to be around my weekend personal experience with being with Metallica, but there's going to be lots of bonus footage, so don't miss out. In this first vlog, we're going to take some time going back into Metallica's history, possibly the dark past of the early 80s. We're going to have a look at some sacred sites, including the Cliff Memorial Stone, which is where the bus crash happened in Sweden in 1986. We're going to have a quick look at Lars's childhood home and also the sacred site of Sweet Silence Studios. So join me as we take a deep dive into Metallica's past. In this series of videos, we're also going to do 2 shows in the Snake Pit. So I'm going to give you my raw footage of my personal experience here of the no repeat weekend. In the second part, we're going to have lots of fun as well. We're going to have a look at the second show. We're going to have a look around Helsinki, and we're also going to take a deep dive into Acapulco. I always struggle to say that name correctly. We're going to have a look at their album launch party, Metallica Volume 2. So join me and strap yourselves in for what's going to be an amazing ride. So as I start this series of vlogs, let me introduce myself, and just to let you know straight up, I'm a super fan. A mildly possessed Metallica fan. I've set myself a personal goal to visit key sites in the history of Metallica. In the past, I've been to San Rafael. I've actually briefly met the band there. I'll maybe mention that a wee bit later in the in the vlog. And I've been to the site of every studio where they've made an album, bar kill 'em all. So I've got one left to do. But look, I'm a super fan, and I've dedicated my life to Metallica. It's my religion, it's my lifestyle, it's my all. And so that's why I'm here on tour in Sweden. Now, of course, I'm from Australia. Australia's no longer part of the world, apparently, so the M72 tour has not gone to Australia. In 2019, I was supposed to see Metallica for multiple shows on their Hardwired tour, the worldwide tour, but of course James went back into recovery. Love and respect to James, and those shows were cancelled. So I've had to come to Europe to see Metallica. I don't expect them to come to see me. So that is totally fine. So enjoy this little this deep dive into my beautiful weekend experience with Metallica. Okay, so let's start the history tour now with Metallica. Let's go back to the year of 1986, that transformational breakout year where Metallica went from being, you know, a happening metal band from America to being an explosive band in Europe. Now, of course, this started in 1984 with the making of the Lightning album in Copenhagen with Flemming Rasmussen. I mean, that was the precursor to Master of Puppets, but Master of Puppets was where things really exploded. That, of course, was a transformational time because it was the unfortunate accident that happened with Cliff Burton. So I'm going to take you on my sacred journey back to Solnahallen, which was the venue they played the night of the accident. And of course, that was infamous in itself because James had recently broken his arm, and it was his first gig back playing guitar with the band. I'll cover that. So join me now as we go to Stockholm, Sweden, and the Solnahallen venue. I'm standing here at the Solnahallen in the northern suburbs of Stockholm, Sweden. And I can assure you that on September 26, when Metallica and the crew rocked up here to load in, I can guarantee you they did not think this was going to be the final show for Cliff. Let's talk a little bit about the events of that night, because things are leading up to it's really interesting. But let's just check out the venue itself. This currently operates as an indoor basketball stadium. I will have some overlay pictures into this vlog here. But yeah, it's an indoor basketball stadium. It takes about 5,000 people, apparently. But anyways, let's just maybe chat a little bit about the events of that night. You know, for me, this is a heavy moment. I mean, this would be the saddest venue in Metallica history. September 26. Now, the events leading up to September 26 are interesting. You got to remember that this is now on the Master of Puppets tour in Europe. Really, really big tour that was breaking them through. The album had sort of broken through, and they started off in England, and they've been supported on this tour by Anthrax, of course. So Anthrax were coming along. They had their own separate tour bus. Probably a good idea. No pun intended. Anyways, they had played 3 shows prior to this. They played in Lund, Sweden, which is a town just next to Malmo. I don't know why they didn't play Malmo, because Lund is a really small town. Malmo's a bigger town. They then drove up to Oslo, and they played in Norway. They then drove down to, which is a big drive from Oslo down to Stockholm, and they played here at the Solnahallen. And this was the first show that James Hetfield had come back on guitar, because up until that point he had his broken arm. He was recovering from his broken arm, the first time he broke his arm. And John Marshall, his guitar tech, was covering in for him and playing rhythm guitar. He was just singing. Now, of course, this all replicated again back in 1992 on the Guns N' Roses tour, when James got blown up in Montreal with the pyrotechnic incident. John Marshall came in again. Of course, John Marshall from Metal Church, for those that are devotees of the genre. And he came in and did a mean job covering James again for the second time. Now, James is his first show back on guitar after that break. The spirits were high, the album was ticking over and selling, shifting units, as they would say back in the day. Now it's just all downloads and bloody streams. And things were looking, things were on the up and up. I mean, they'd done 3 shows in a row, so that's just epic in itself, particularly for a singer. So just walking around the outside of the stadium here. But, I'm sure when they arrived here, they thought the rest of the rest of their lives was ahead of them. Certainly, it's safe to assume, I think Cliff would have thought that. So they played a pretty mean show. Now, there's plenty of YouTube footage. I might overlay some here. There's audio recording from that show, Cliff's live show. It's all over YouTube, so feel free to dive into that if you want to really devour the experience. But they played a show, and they then jumped into the infamous bus that took them south. Now, of course, you're going to see shortly in the next part of this vlog where that ended up. And of course, everyone knows how that ended up. It ended up in a horrific accident. So they finished up here, probably you would have thought somewhere around midnight. The band, I'm assuming, would have got loaded out first. Then personally, the gear would have followed behind. There was gear getting there was a trailer actually behind the bus. You'll see the photos of that in the accident. I will just add in here, being a real bogan of the 80s, the band Europe, which is a Swedish band, by the way, the band Europe did film the music video for the final countdown here. This venue has been played by so many acts over the years. Indoor 5,000 sort of person venue, real sort of mid-tier venue before you hit the arenas. And ironically, Metallica, they came back and played here a year later. They played, in '88 on the Damaged Justice tour. They played with Jason here. Imagine that show after the last time they were here. But anyways, let's go back in time. So, let's assume around midnight or so, the band's loaded out, they've jumped into the bus, and they have left this venue. And they have just hit the road, literally the road behind me there, towards Copenhagen, and hit the freeways and the byways. And then they've obviously come to Dorarp, where it's all come unstuck absolutely horrifically. So, man, I've got goosebumps as I'm talking. I really am. This is the hands down saddest venue in Metallica's history. Obviously, we've already covered part of the events, but within 2 weeks of the accident with Cliff and his passing, they've done the funeral, they've gone home, and they've started to regroup and started the process of what would become hiring Jason Newsted. Just quickly moving through things really quickly when you think about grief and trauma. But they're back here about 18 months later on the Damaged Justice tour, and they play another gig here. I mean, how would the band have felt playing that gig? Fuck me. I don't know if I'd want to come back and play here. I'd feel like the venue's somewhat cursed. This is going to sound like a really bad, disrespectful joke to Cliff, but how did Jason feel, particularly if they're on a tour bus? I mean, it's a pretty ballsy move when you think about it, back here playing another gig. That was the last gig they played here, was 1988 on the Damaged Justice tour. So September 26th, 1986, and then 88. Solnahallen, the saddest venue. This sacred ground here, this is a sacred site because this is a pivoting point in Metallica's history. The fact that they didn't choose to give up after Cliff's accident, the fact that they decided to continue on, Jason coming into the band and all the positive energy that he brought in, and how Metallica just went on a certain trajectory from that. So karmatic site, sacred site. I'm glad I've ticked it off. I'm so glad I've been here. This is part of my weekend with Metallica, so keep watching. We're going to go to Dorarp, Sweden shortly, and really pay some respect to Cliff and Burton. and it absolutely is crushing. I suspect I might burst into a little bit of emotion in a minute. You just, oh, for someone that talks a lot and gets paid to do it for a living, I must admit I'm quite short for words. What it means for me to be here is so much, but just what I'm feeling right now for this man here. And just the serenity. Australians, you can't not quite, you know, the castle, but the serenity is just gorgeous. It's a beautiful summer's day here in Dorarp. Just check out the locale. Now I'm going to do a bit of a walkthrough of the final moments. I'm not trying to hype this up and be graphic or anything, but I'm certainly just going to walk those final steps. I think that I've come this far from the bottom of the world. I do want to walk the final steps that Cliff took and the site of the accident, which is just down over here on the bend. So I just want to take a couple of moments now to pay my respect to Mr. Clifford Burton, to dedicate this day to honouring the life and the memory of this beautiful soul, this person that has brought me so much joy over the years in his musicianship, the influence he had on my favourite band Metallica. You know, for me, when I hear his bass riffs, when I hear his melodies, his harmonies, his syncopated rhythms, the complex layering of genius that comes out of Clifford's hands, lightning and thunder, as the quote said before, that just hits the nail on the head. But his melodies talk to my emotions, and I think about who I was growing up as a young kid in the late 80s and early 90s certainly, and the role that his music played in my life. I'm just so eternally grateful. I'm eternally grateful to all of Metallica, but there's just this legacy with Cliff that is just so epic and everlasting, and it's why, as me as a super fan, if you want to call me that, you know, why I've come here to pay respect, as all other fans have done. It means a lot to me, you know. I go to these places. I go to these places in Metallica's history because I want to walk in the steps. I want to breathe the oxygen that they breathed. Obviously not at the same time, but I just want to feel the vibe of the, you know, musicians. I'm now getting right off track, but anyways, yeah, us musicians, we vibe locations and feelings and emotions, and that comes through your consciousness, and then that's what influences how you create music. And coming to these places, where these sacred sites that Metallica has been, you know, it just, for me, it makes me enjoy them and the music more, and well, no, complete maybe. It makes it complete. I mean, I enjoy it anyways, but I can enjoy Metallica any time of the day. But I just, it means a lot to me to go to these sacred sites. And yeah, this is hero worship. It's all of those things. It's just, for me, it's just paying respect. This man here has given me so much in my childhood, the traumatic past that I went through, and the role that Metallica played in helping me to deal with my shit, you know, express my anger, deal with my anger, not deal with my anger as the case may be, deal with my addictions as the case may be. But, you know, all of that is influenced from these guys, and I'm so grateful. I am so grateful. Thank you so much, Clifford. You know, on the way up here, I was also, you know, as a dad, you know, I got a beautiful son, Hugo, who's 8, and a beautiful baby boy who's just born 4 weeks ago, and I'm still dealing with the emotions of that, and the fact that I'm here and not there. But my beautiful boy Tobias. But you know, I just think about Cliff's parents and what the hell they would have gone through, losing such a beautiful soul in their prime. You know, 23 years old, 24 years old. Like, wow. You know, you just can't comprehend the loss that a parent would have of having to bury a child. It's just so sad. So, don't mind me, I'm going to take a few minutes here. Okay, so let's do a bit of a run through of the events of the evening of, or the early morning, I should say, of September 26, 1986. Now I'm just going to cross a ditch without trying to get killed. So, a bit of a quick run through. Of course, the bus crash was based around the suggested idea that the bus hit black ice coming up to this bend. So again, let's have a look at where they've come from. Over here, of course, is Stockholm, where they're driving from. They played a show in Solnahallen, which you're going to see in another part of this vlog. You'll see the footage of Solnahallen. In fact, you may have already seen it. Anyways, doesn't matter what I edited it. And they were coming down here on this road, of course, in the lane that I'm standing in right now, and then they're heading over here. So they're coming up towards this bend, and it's on this bend here where allegedly the bus driver has lost control. He suggested they hit ice. Members of the band might have thought that it might have been falling asleep in the crew. So that will be part of history, I suppose. And here is the stone. I don't know who stuck the stone in. Someone did, but anyways, here's the stone. So a bit of a replay. So the bus has come around the corner here, and obviously driving on the right-hand side of the road. It's come along, and according to the driver, it's lost control and swerved over to the right-hand side, and then ricocheted off the right-hand side all the way into the ditch here, and then rolled on its side and landed in this point right here. You'll see the photographs. I'll probably overlay those into the film here. And of course, sadly, Cliff was in the top bunk, and he came out of the bus, and the bus landed on him. Of course, there's a bit of a mythical story in the folklore of Metallica these days about the shortest straw. I was actually listening to the shortest straw as I was driving here, which is an oxymoron in itself. Cliff and I think it was Cliff and Kirk pulled straws or something in relation to who was going to have the top bunk, and Cliff got it, and he was the one, unfortunately, that suffered in the accident. So yeah, it's really emotional being here. I must admit, it just all brings it back to home. Life, mortality. Everything. Anyways, let's get this stone. So just taking a few minutes here, just on the stone, which is the side of where the bus landed. And I was just looking out, as a hippie that I am, looking out at these trees, thinking, these trees here, they literally witnessed the crash. They would have been here 30, 40 years ago, absolutely. Particularly the one that's in front of me that's radiating some beautiful energy. My wife's going to laugh when she sees this. She knows I love talking to trees. Anyways, that's a personal dig at me. An in-house joke. But I was just thinking that, the energy of just this site, it's kind of what I was saying before. I want, as a super fan, I enjoy with gratitude walking in the places of significant interest to the band, because I get to, I don't know, for me it's just a deeper appreciation, and this spot right here, this spot was where everything changed in one sense. I mean, the band's trajectory was massive. They were on the Master of Puppets tour, just played a gig in Stockholm, about to come home to Lars's hometown, Copenhagen, do another show. They'd just actually done 3 shows in a row. They ended out they tipped out, they're on the side of the road here, freezing cold, and their world had come to an end. I mean, Metallica came to an end at this spot. Literally, in their own words, they did. And then they had, within 2 weeks, they're back in San Francisco, and they've buried Cliff, and they're on the hunt for what became Jason Newsted. And just the trajectory the band was on. I mean, they were on their road to stardom. This happens, and it could have been any member of the band, really, or the crew. And it comes to a grinding halt, and when you read the book back to front, the Master of Puppets 30th anniversary book, Hetfield was quoted as saying, I can't stand on the stage without Cliff next to me. They're very lucky that Jason Newsted was a phenomenal force of bass and vocals, and brought so much to Metallica. If it wasn't for Jason and Jason's influence on the band, you question where Metallica would be. That's probably a controversial statement, but for me, their live show is different without Jason. It really is. We've got to be honest about that. And he brought so much to the band for the 15 years that he was in, and it just happened at this spot. This is like a fault line in Metallica history, is right here. So I've just taken a few moments of gratitude, and I feel grateful. Now I'm going to drive back and see some other stuff in Copenhagen. But I just looking at these trees going, they witnessed everything, they witnessed a shift in history. Such a tragic loss, just such a tragic loss, Now I'm just riffing as a parent. It's just such a tragic loss. For me, Copenhagen has always been the spiritual home of Metallica, even though San Francisco is the real home, if you will. But Copenhagen, which of course is where Lars comes from, and where the two, in my opinion, the most transformational albums were made, Ride the Lightning and Master of Puppets. So join me now as we take a little bit of a gimmick, a little bit of a drive through Copenhagen to see Lars's childhood home. Now, this is easy to find because if you just Google Maps it, you'll see it's actually listed in Google Maps. Lars's childhood home in the suburb of Helsinki. Very, very nice home, I must say. Join my little experience here as we check out Lars's childhood home. Well, g'day and welcome back. We're at the next location. Now, for those devotees of Metallica, if you've watched the Some Kind of Monster movie, Metallica movie, the documentary, you'll see in the in that movie, Lars takes Rob Trujillo, their bassist, to his childhood home in the beautiful suburb. I think it's called Hellerup in Copenhagen here. And since seeing that footage of his childhood home, the centre of the Metallica universe in terms of Lars, one of the founders, I thought maybe it would be a good time to actually say hello and pay this location a visit. So I present to you Lars's childhood home in all of its glory here in beautiful Hellerup. Now, as legend has it, I don't know who lives there, but I'm sure they're going to get annoyed with all the mega fans coming around filming. Lars used to play in the dungeon down and rehearse down in the dungeon down in the ground here, where apparently he would put the heaters on so he could sweat more and pretend like he's playing an arena rock show, but here it is. I've got no idea, I've not done any research on who actually owns or lives in here. It's a lovely home. Now, Lars Ulrich, Lars's dad, obviously internationally renowned tennis player, quite, well, I don't think they were short of $1 back in the day. Beautiful mansion here and surrounded by some beautiful houses. I mean, it's just a beautiful location. Not a bad place to grow up. So Lars's childhood home here in Copenhagen, Denmark, the suburb of Hellerup. Priceless. And you're probably thinking, why would I want to come here? Well, apparently all the fans do. But to think about the creative genius that was born here, and of course, you know, Lars comes from a very creative, highly achievement-orientated family. That would be the best way to put it, I think. And to think that the centre of the drumming universe in Metalland started in this house. It's a sacred site, so it has to be seen. So as I said earlier at the start of this vlog, it's been, as a superfan, it's one of my goals to go to sacred sites in the history of Metallica, where they've recorded their infamous albums, certain sacred gigs, you know, real famous concerts that have a mystique or legend attached to them. Let's go and check out Sweet Silence Studios. If it was not for Sweet Silence Studios, Metallica, I would not be standing here in Helsinki, Finland right now, and Metallica would not be the juggernaut, the Beatles of the heavy metal genre. I don't think I'm cursing when I say the Beatles of the heavy metal genre. I think they really are. I mean, they are one of the most transformational bands the world has ever seen. So, join me as we check out the sacred venue of Sweet Silence Studios. Now, you might wonder, what is the centre of the Metallica universe? You could quite easily think it's their headquarters, their business headquarters and studio in San Rafael. Now, for me, this building I'm about to show you next is absolutely the centre of the Metallica universe. Because in a positive way, if we go back to that time before Cliff's accident, and we go back to that sort of transformational moment that was in their history. If we go back a couple of years to 1984 to where they made The Lightning, if it wasn't for Lightning, Ride the Lightning, the album, you would not have Master of Puppets. And if you didn't have Master of Puppets, you wouldn't have them going from being quite broke, you know, boys living in the Bay Area in El Cerrito, the Metallica mansion, to being millionaires, quite literally. So I present to you the building that started it all for Metallica, and here it is, the location of Sweet Silence Studios here in Copenhagen, Denmark. Now, I have no idea how to pronounce the name correctly. I think it's, well, it's number 85, I know that. Google Maps told me that. Number 85, I think it's Strandlesborg or Strandlesvev. I don't know, I'll put it down in the notes below and I'll correct myself. In 1984, and then late 85 to 86, the boys made Ride the Lightning, and then the follow-up, Master of Puppets. This is one hell of a sacred site. This, for me, really is the centre of the universe for Metallica, because without the beautiful work they did in this building behind me, And I do believe they were upstairs. According to vlogs made by the producer Fleming, the studio was actually located upstairs, certainly where they did the live room, the drums. If it wasn't for the beautiful work they did here in this building, you know, without lightning you didn't have puppets, and without puppets you wouldn't have them going from being a garage band in the Bay Area to being a global phenomenon and ultimately multi-millionaires. And of course that set them up for history, really. So the beautiful energy that was made here makes this one of the most sacred sites in all of Metallica's history. Nowadays it's actually set up as an apartment complex, so all the rooms have been, well, it's been sort of sublet, if you like, so it's been turned into multiple apartments. Interesting. I wonder how many residents actually know they are living in the center of the Metallica universe. In that, I mean, the floorboards would be worth millions alone. James could rip them up and make another guitar. Wow, yeah, standing here is really cool. So this means I now only have one more recording studio site that I have to go to. I've been to all of them. Been to all of them now where they've recorded. I just have to go to Kill 'Em All, which is in Rochester, New York, where they did the Kill 'Em All album. That building, I believe, is actually no longer there. I think it's been torn down. Anyways, here I am, the center of the universe in beautiful Copenhagen. If it wasn't for Copenhagen and what the energy that happened here, you would not have the Metallica that you have today. So, wow, awesome fan moment. Okay, it's enough of the history lesson. Let's do show number one. Starting off with my trip to the Black Box Lounge. Now, when you have a snake pit part, an enhanced experience, which means you've paid a lot of money, you get this privilege of going to the Metallica Museum on the way through to the gig. It's a beautiful experience. You've got to do it. You absolutely have to do it. Let's start show number one. After the big rock show.
Fine, thank you. How are you?
Doing well.
Nice.
Can I get you to take a photo of me? Is that all right?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Yay! Wow! All right. That's nice.
There you go. Cheers, thanks. Security is tight and the guard is up. Check it out, people. We've arrived at the big fucking rock show. Now, what we're going to do is find the Moth into Flame priority chicken area.
Doing fine, and you?
Good, Moth into Flame.
Thank you. Can I see your ID as well? Area?
Yep.
And this is for the snake pit.
Yep.
You stamp for the extra scratch. There you go. And here's your...
Well, I didn't realise I was going to be getting a Yeti mug. These are pretty. I've actually already got one of these. But hey, you know. Anyways, let's get through security. And hit play there. Choose a song, and you can choose any song. You can choose. Yeah, please.
It's all light.
Excuse me, Lee. I love your work.
Oh, thank you so much.
I love your work.
Thank you.
I've come all the way from Australia to admire your work.
I'm sure you've come to see something else.
I've come to see a certain band, a small band, but I just love it. Yeah, just love it. So I've been following for a while on Instagram and just love the black and white vibe, and yeah, it's something different.
Yeah, everyone's saying it's something different.
I haven't done that.
Just wish the band did use it.
Okay. Yeah. Well,
You know,
I like your prints. I picked up one from the this morning. Yeah, this morning at the
Oh,
pop-up
did
shop.
you?
Yeah.
You bought the 4 prints?
Yeah. Oh, what do you got there? Oh, I got a pick. Yeah. Beautiful. Yeah, I'll take one of them. Thank you. That's one of Kirk's, I think. Yeah, that's cool. Thank you. Excellent. Yeah, keep doing it. I love it. Thank you.
Love it. Have a good night.
Yeah. Okay, so night one is done in Helsinki. Oh my God, what an evening it was down in the snake pit. Jesus Christ, it was fantastic. Being close to the band, having them coming, you know, right up front, and it's just absolutely magical. The sound is terrible, which I knew it was going to be anyways, because you've got the sound ricocheting from the PA going away from the snake pit, hitting the end of the stadium, and then ricocheting back. So it sounded completely out of time, half of it. It wasn't so bad when the band was on the other side of the snake pit. It didn't actually sound as bad. I was getting sound from the monitors. Anyways, it's a bit of a bizarre setup, but you know, the vibe of it is just amazing. But you know, where do I start? The band was in a great mood. They played extremely well. A very first though, for the fact that seeing a Metallica show start in the daylight and end in the daylight. Never had that before. Never seen Metallica in the Northern Hemisphere before either. So, what a special experience here. Stu's Amazing Race, my weekend with Metallica. Oh my God. Shenanigans for this weekend don't stop now. We've got tomorrow, we're going to see Apocalyptica before cellos play Metallica. We're going to get into that. We're going to do a little adventure in Tallinn, Estonia tomorrow as well. The weekend continues, so keep tuning in. There's more to come.